He's actually calling me racist names in Spanish, and I didn't know because I was not used Spanish. He just tell me every day that the boss is saying I shouldn't be there because I'm not bilingual. It's in a form of retaliating. He was making me do work that I don't normally do, like shoveling. I'd be shoveling this spot. He wanted me to leave his crew so bad that he was writing me up because I wasn't responding to racial slurs that he was calling me.
Racism, it's not just for minorities. This next caller is white and had to quit his job because of how racist his boss was. Let's find out what happens when the concrete is poured over a healthy dose of racism. Luke Skywalker, you're having a problem at work. Let's talk about it.
It used to be my work. I don't work there currently.
Okay. What happened at your workplace?
So I applied to work at Cinecola to be a front end loader. And I went through the whole 2-week process of getting in there. And then long story short, my day of orientation, they said that the position got filled and then asked me if I wanted to go do concrete because I have experience in concrete.
Okay.
So the other thing they said is that the concrete crew members and crew supervisor is not very good English. So they told me that I just have to get used to it and learn some Spanish on the way. Well, I don't know a single word in Spanish.
Okay.
And so I started there about a week after that. So 3 weeks total it took me to get into this job. Everything was fine. I like everybody that's on the crew, even the supervisor, even though that's the one I have problems with. I was fine in the beginning of not knowing Spanish, but after a while I could tell that the supervisor was getting very annoyed with it because I was not used Spanish. I don't know what you call it, Spanish coworkers. And I was asking the coworkers what he was saying to me and like if he likes me or if he's getting upset because there was one person that knew English but not very well, so they'd have him translate for me. And he'd just tell me every day that the boss is saying how he doesn't like me being there, how I shouldn't be there because I'm not bilingual, that it's just probably will never work out for me, and that he's actually calling me racist names in Spanish, and I didn't know until he started calling me them.
Okay, now what I'm just gonna we're still listening, but what kind of racist names? And I guess my question is, and this is serious, like it might be kind of funny, but it's also serious. How do you know they were racist if you don't speak Spanish? Was there like a word or two that you heard and you Googled it?
Was telling me. I was asking the coworker what he kept calling me because I didn't know what it was, and then I finally figured it out.
So are we talking about gringo here?
No.
Worse?
It was, trying to think. It was, however you say Spanish cracker, and then he was calling me a widow. I guess it means white boy in Spanish.
Anyone here speak Spanish?
No.
Widow.
Do you know that one? So the producer?
Yeah.
What say it again? Spell it. Okay. And it is a slur.
I wouldn't say it's a slur, but I mean,
it's very
It's
racial.
not a compliment,
It's
though.
racial. If you had black coworkers and you were using a bunch of words to describe them that weren't black, it'd get into seriously bad territory pretty quick.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah. So let's say he's using 3 or 4 different words to describe you outside of your name. That sounds racial. I think we all agree, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Keep going, caller. Thank you, Luke.
and so I called HR about it, and then asked them because when I applied, I wanted to be a front end loader. Well, he told me after I stay in concrete, if I stay there for a while and a position opens up being a front end loader comes along, that I can apply for it. And so I called HR and told them what was happening about the supervisor calling me the racial slurs. He kind of just said to ask him not to do it anymore and call me by my name.
It's a beautiful movie.
that clearly got under his skin because they had the HR come out. They had the 2 big bosses of Cinecola come out and talk to him about it. Well, I guess that really stirred his pot or something because he started, I want to say retaliating, but it's in a form of retaliating. He was making me do work that I don't normally do, or making me do all the work instead of the other coworkers.
Like what?
And so like shoveling. I'd be shoveling this spot, and then it'd be me and the coworker shoveling. Well, then he'd tell the coworker to stop and then go do something else that had nothing to do related to the job. He would ask him to clean out the trailer and reorganize it. And we don't really do that.
So he was trying to make you quit. He was giving you the hard tasks all the time.
See, that's why I can't really hate like the company or hate the guy, because I don't know if he was trying to be like I don't know how you could honestly call it. Like, he wanted me to leave his crew so bad that he was writing me up for like not listening to him because I wasn't responding to racial slurs that he was calling me because I didn't know what they meant at the time.
Employee did not timely respond to my racial slurs. Poor, lacks communication.
So yeah, I had to write myself up for that, and that's when I called HR.
I'm going to start the legal analysis in a second, but I want to ask Kat. Now, Kat, English is a second language for you. Is that is that an appropriate?
Yeah.
Have you had an experience with people calling you outside of your name or anything like that?
Oh yeah, all the time. I just respond with Chinglish, and so you can try to speak Spanglish with him.
Yeah.
So that will bring you guys closer together, right? You said you don't speak Spanish. That's fine. Just try to speak Spanglish. Also, one question for you. When you said he make you shoveling, I wonder, is shoveling part of your job when you were hired, or he just make you do extra?
Great question.
It was part of the job because we were concrete laborers, so it is part of the job, but it was like he was doing it in a sense that was making me work harder than everybody else there.
Yeah.
Like giving me like the worst possible jobs when it could have got done faster with two people. But he wanted, in the end story, he wanted me to quit or get fired because he was just writing me up.
He just make you shoveling extra.
Yeah.
Got you.
Now, you are a white, right? Is that Luke? Is that okay? So that's crazy that they would try to make the white work harder.
And when I
Hispanics.
came there, I kind of
that's wild.
When I applied to it, I did not know that it was like it is a Mexican Spanish-based company. That's like everybody that's there is all Spanish. Well, the recruiter said I'll be just fine. That most of them are bilingual. Everybody's nice here, and it was actually the complete opposite.
I have to say, look, thank God you didn't work for a Chinese company. Do you know Chinese are most racist people ever? If you work for Chinese,
I'm best friends with
that's even worse.
Yeah, or if you were in like Saudi Arabia, they might like just take your passport. So I mean, but we don't want to trivialize this. So Matt and I, we're gonna do kind of the legal analysis here. So I'll tell you the first thing that I heard. You called HR. Now that's not bad.
Mm-hmm. Right, it's a good first step.
But I was thinking you email HR. You want to create
document. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because here's the thing. Each division of the company cares about themselves first. So that recruiter that was lying to you and was like, hey, it's great, everyone here speaks English and Spanish, it's a utopia, they have a quota. They have to get so many people making concrete, pouring concrete, apparently shoveling concrete. I don't quite understand that. And does that mean you did a bad job with the concrete? Like, what if you're ever shoveling, did something go wrong? Because you pour it flat, right?
Yeah, but you gotta dig out like the hole for the concrete to go in.
Okay, so you're digging the dirt, not the concrete.
Correct.
Okay, I feel like if you're ever digging concrete, something went wrong at some point. Okay,
so context as well for listeners who are outside the South. This is working outside, shoveling and digging holes in the South is a really, really horrible job.
This is a tough job.
So yeah, being put on punishment detail to go and dig a hole is pretty horrible.
It's horrible.
Especially, what timeline were you working for them from?
Not very long, probably a month.
Yeah, but like from when to when? Like how long ago?
Like when I stopped working for them.
Like what month did you start? What month did you finish?
We'll just say last month.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So 100+ degrees every day, and you're
yeah, it is. And especially in Texas, it gets hot here.
And you're white, so that's double hard, dude. That's where white people are not meant for that kind of climate, dude.
You're telling me. I mean, come on. I have the least Texas color scheme possible and known to man, but yeah.
You can't see Matt Caller, but you have a hard time seeing him if he were here. He's very pale.
My natural colouring is actually blue. It takes me about a week in the sun to go red, and then go beyond that. But,
so what I was saying before is every division in the company has a different job. So the recruiter just wants to get you hired. That racist boss that you had just wants to get the concrete apparently poured and shoveled. And the HR person has one job, and that's to make your problem go away as quickly and as efficiently as possible and just cover their ass. So when you call them, you give them a little bit of extra leeway because there's not a written piece of documentation. Right. So when we talk to HR and we have a good case, we want to start in writing. Okay, so I think that's the first thing there. Matt, you have a point or a question that you want to ask, and then I'll continue.
Yeah, I just think what's been the consequences of obviously having to, as we've discussed, like be effectively forced out of your job. What is that? Have you managed to get another job? Are you losing money? What kind of knock-on financially has this had for you?
I wouldn't say it's not a big financial problem just because I save a lot of my money.
Well, that's good.
But I mean, that does suck because I do have a car payment. I do have rent, electricity, phone bill.
Were you able to get another job?
I've applied to one, and I have about 3 interviews Monday.
Okay.
Do you need references, good references for your jobs, or is that kind of not really important? You just kind of can rock up and say, this is what I've done?
Pretty much. All the jobs that I go to, it's all labor jobs, so they don't really, I mean, they might not. I'm not too sure.
So we learned, one of the reasons why this show is so cool, right? No lawyer knows every area of law. And so we try to do some preparation before you guys get on. So I was actually looking this up and researching it. And I wasn't sure, even as an attorney, if language preference, especially against white people and English speakers, would be protected under Title VII. Is that something that you'd considered before?
It is, and it's really difficult because certainly and this actually happened in Dallas a few years ago, Farmers Branch, tried to enact an English-speaking only ordinance and say that everything's going to be in English only. They went all the way to the Supreme Court, and they got ripped to bits and had to pay millions, in compensation and attorney's fees. So the flip side of that, obviously, is, hey, we're, you need to speak Spanish to come and work on our construction crew. I don't really think that's...
Now, it is actually protected. I wasn't sure that it would be, but it is protected under Title VII. But then there are a few exceptions to that potential discrimination. So one of them is if the language requirement is necessary for the job, right? Like if the job is, hey, you're going to translate books from Spanish to English, it would make sense that you have to be able to speak Spanish and English to get that job. That's not discrimination.
Right.
Someone comes in and says, oh, I speak French and Spanish. Can I have the job? No, you need to speak Spanish and English. Now, this is interesting because I don't think shoveling or pouring concrete, you need to be able to speak Spanish. That doesn't sound like a requirement to me. What do you gals think? Doesn't?
Yeah.
No requirement needed.
Yeah.
You just shovel.
I'm sure it's more complicated than that.
Yeah.
I think unless they can make some sort of colourable argument that, hey, for safety reasons, we are employing predominantly Hispanic workforce and you've got to know certain things, but that's kind of like give them a safety card that says, if we shout this, stop working because you're about to get run over by a front loader or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think, you can impose that kind of requirement for...
So what we're saying, caller, is we do think it's discrimination. We do think that you were discriminated against. We don't think that it falls in an exception. So then the question is, what do I do now, right? And so I'll walk you through that analysis too. How big is this company? Like, how many employees is it?
I'm surprised you haven't heard of them. They're huge. I've never seen a company with more company trucks in my entire life.
What's the name of it again?
Senecola.
I don't think I've ever heard. No. Okay, and so
they're building the whole 380.
Okay, so hundreds and hundreds of employees, if not thousands.
It's not thousands.
Now,
way over 1,000.
Usually Bill is the co-host, but I think Matt will be equally uncomfortable when I start to do this. So what I like to do is, right, there's things where it's like, think of Saul Goodman as a lawyer, right? And then there's things where it's like, think of anyone that's actually trying to keep their license. So what's interesting is when you have a really big company like that, and then I'm hearing that they only speak Spanish, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Because there's something coming to my mind.
On what to do with the company or the complaint? Or
well, we're talking about his discrimination claim, but now I'm thinking there might be something else, and that I think potentially they have a lot of people working for them that are probably not properly documented. And if that is true, and you start to bring a case here, they might want to settle with you just because they don't want to dig deeper into... So they don't actually care about your discrimination case. That's one thing. But that's just the tip of the iceberg on this Titanic, because if we dig down, there's 400 undocumented employees, and they have a $50 million contract with the state of Texas to build a road or something. They're going to lose that, or they're going to be subject to millions of dollars of fines. So had you thought, Luke Skywalker, had you thought about filing a lawsuit because they're going to want to settle because they don't want to potentially have an evaluation of the rest of their workforce?
I, for one, have never done a lawsuit in my entire life.
Fair.
2, I don't know anything about it. And 3, on day of orientation, when they're collecting like resumes and IDs and social security cards, they were sending a lot of people home that I guess aren't from here, and they're supposed to have like a working paper for the United States or something like that.
Okay.
And he sent them home right away. There
So
was no questions asked.
So you think that they were above board with it?
Yes, but then again, you would have to do research on when that has to be renewed, because he did talk about other people not renewing their thing.
My gut tells me that even if some of those people had papers, some of them were probably fake.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, jump in.
Huh?
That was it? Okay,
That was literally it.
Yeah.
But I do know that a lot of people do make those socials and stuff like that for people who are not from this country.
Yeah. Have you ever faked immigration papers, Kat? Don't answer yes. Only answer no.
Never. Never. I always thought, you got to match everything, right? If you fake the paper, that government is going to have a record, going to match the number, right?
Yeah.
So how can you act? I mean, I understand that when you're like underage, you have like fake ID,
Yeah.
you go to club, that's easy, right? Because they want to check. But for like social security number, I wonder, how do you fake that?
It's for work, so it's not necessarily like...
Okay, so let's get back to the caller. So, caller, to my eyes and ears, it sounds like you have something worth pursuing here because, 1, were you discriminated against based on your narrative? Yes. 2, did you report it? Yes. 3, is there potentially more violations that this company has? Yes. This is something every lawyer, like, look, we're lawyers working for you for free because of the show, but every other lawyer that you talk to is going to do an analysis of, how am I going to get paid? And unfortunately, if someone is racist to you and they don't have money, good luck getting a lawyer to help you with that, because even if you win, you're not going to get paid. This is not the case for you. So I think, based on what I'm hearing, you have a good case. You should do some exploration. We actually are connected with some attorneys that are experts in this specific field that are local, so we can get you referred over to them and get you access to some more resources. But we're going to say, hey, dude, racism isn't cool, even if it's against whites.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is not,
Yeah.
I'll say it.
You should not racist against anyone. Like, by the way, I want to make a disclaimer. When I say Chinese or racist, that's a joke, okay?
Yes,
No,
to the
that's not a
CCP,
joke.
to the CCP. Yeah, it's totally.
You heard about that? It's like...
I live in Brooklyn, and everyone there is Chinese. They hate us. Like
Really?
I mean, I love them. They're amazing people. They're so nice, but they don't. They like each other. They don't like anybody else, and that's
Really?
fine. Yeah.
I feel Chinese people love white people, though.
I actually went to Shanghai, and they loved me there. But the white, I don't know. Like, there's something about living in an Asian community and being. Sorry.
We'll finish ranking racism after this call. But, so caller, I do think you have something here, and I think that you should pursue it, and we're going to get you some help in doing that. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay, cool. Do you have any other questions for us or comments, or do you want to get involved in this race ranking conversation that we have going on?
I think I'll pass on that.
Okay, all right. Luke Skywalker, thank you for joining us. Do you feel like you were heard today?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, we're going to be in touch. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Cheers, Luke.
Kat, what did you think about that call?
Honestly, I mean, I felt him, because I know, like, when you said it, like, racist against white, like you mentioned about that as well. Yeah, I think, it could happen, It could happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nina, what did you think when you're listening to the call?
It happens. I mean, when you're working with a bunch of people who are not white, and you don't speak their language, they're going to make fun of you, and that's just that.
How'd you feel about it, Matt?
Yeah, look, I think it's a serious point with, again, companies will get away with what they can get away with, and just this is probably not one isolated incident. For Luke, it's been horrible. Guy's had to quit his job. And he's also had to do a really tough job before he quits as well. What if he couldn't, get a knock-on, job from that? What financial consequences is that going to have? It's not just bad, nasty words, bad language, things like that. It's obviously very isolating. I mean, how did that guy feel working like on his own effectively with a crew of other guys, knowing that they're saying pretty horrendous things about him. So yeah, it's very unpleasant. We shouldn't put up with it. Nobody should have to put up with it. And so yeah, it is important for people to stand up and do things. It does help that this is a larger company, admittedly, but you've got to call this stuff out. We've all got to call this out wherever we see it.
Yeah.
So.
And not just because it's funny, but because sometimes it's wrong. Man, I have always wanted to learn Spanish. It's been like a to-do list thing for me, and I kind of think about doing immersion stuff, like just going to Mexico for like a month or two.
Just pitching up in the middle of
Guadalajara, just force myself
like
to learn it. So I do think that this was a missed opportunity, and that he could have just maybe downloaded Duolingo. But also I think I would not care that much about learning Spanish if the only Spanish I heard was people yelling at me racist slurs about my concrete shoveling. I think that sounds like a tough job.
So you're saying it's a skills gap? He should have learned to shovel while holding Google Translate up on his phone, and then he'd have been fine. Okay, right.
Gotta adapt.
That's good. That should have really been in the appraisal or HR review after a couple of weeks. Must improve shoveling technique.
The only thing I was thinking of during this call was like I like to play basketball, and it'll be a lot of black people that play basketball. I don't know if you guys have, it's a crazy coincidence, and sometimes they will use like insults to me that I haven't heard because they're like youth insults, like Gen Z, or like it's like slang of slang. It's like I just know you're not happy, right? And I feel like that was this guy shoveling. I feel like he was shoveling, and they were calling him, what was it, Guero, producer?
Yeah,
Guero. I don't think it's a slur. Did you feel like it's a slur?
Yes and no. I mean, are you in on it? I mean, look, I'm from England. We are all about banter, and I used to play rugby. That's obviously a sport that is inherently, and I've actually had friends of mine who I've played with over here, and their wives have looked at how I'm talking to another English guy. I said, "Are you guys about to fight each other?
And
you are saying horrible things to each other."
Like you guys say cunt a lot, right?
We do say cunt a lot. Yeah. I mean, but we know how to say it properly. We don't get hung up on things. I mean. In England, it's more of a punctuation mark than horrendous swear word. It's just something you're gonna. Yeah, if you're in on the joke, it's fine.
Yeah.
But if you're not, and you're, like I said, pretty isolated in that scenario, then I can see how maybe being like, "Hey, whitey," might get under your skin after a while.
In England, aren't crackers also like a big part of the like cuisine?
They are an integral part, almost 3 pillars of our our cuisine.
If someone calls you a cracker, you might be like, "Oh, thank you, and I'll fancy a tea."
Yes, well, it's also rhyming for testicles. Your Jacob's crackers are your knackers.
Never heard of that. You're just introducing. So crackers or testicles.
This is a cultural exchange we've got going here.
Also,
we've got
knackers.
New York, California. We've got Texas-ish, and London and England. So.
Knackers is the same as, you have 2 words that rhyme that also mean balls.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a wonderful language.
Is beans on toast like for real?
Beans on toast is a real dish.
Is it good? Do you like it?
That is your post-road trip as a child. When you're back at 10 o'clock on a Sunday night, you're getting beans on toast. And if you're really lucky, if you're a little bit higher up the social spectrum, you're going to get beans on toast with a poached egg. I mean, that is...
That sounds really good right now.
Yeah. What, just beans on toast?
Well, she's hungover. Yeah, beans on toast is like why we revolted. I'm pretty sure it wasn't about taxes. It was like, are you serious? Like,
you're saying that the founding fathers got back late on a Sunday night. It was just like, that is it. No more beans on toast, right?
Well, I think they were hungover.
Brits out.
And they wanted like some pizza and like a beer or something. And they were like, best I can do is tea and like some crackers. And the testicles of a man? Like, no, that's knackers, but okay.
Get some beans on toast down, you guys, and if they just added the poached egg, they'd probably have been fine, and we'd all still be, one country.
How many words for testicle did the British language have? So we got knackers, crackers,
bollocks.
Bollocks. I thought that was
bollocks is like
no bollocks, BOLLOCKS, which is a corruption of bullocks, which is a type of
which is like
call them steers here.
That's like BS kind of, right?
Well, yes, if something's bollocks,
okay.
but if something's very good, then you call it the dog's bollocks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or the cat's pajamas.
I've never been happier that the founding fathers did what they did than I have been during this conversation. We fixed English. We did it. USA. Come on, Kat.
I learned so much English words today.
Well, I had to learn another language too, because obviously I speak English, so I had to come and learn how to speak American English and Texan English.
Yeah, you speak the
so
one.
I'm trilingual, really. And a bit of French, throw that in there as well, just for a laugh.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
I still cannot get over beans on toast. I cannot imagine that.
How do you feel
Well,
about
no.
live squid?
Love it.
Oh, you love it.
Love it.
Live squid. Ooh.
Live squid or fried squid?
Like, live, eat squid alive, right?
No, like raw squid or
I don't know, I
a
don't know.
live squid.
I was
People
just-
eat a live
I
squid.
was trying to learn
I've
about a
seen
culture.
video,
Yeah.
yeah, in Korea, like they have like this guy just eating live squid.
They do it in like hot pot too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
avocado
good.
is so good. Yeah, avocado on toast is good. Beans on toast.
How long have you been in the States?
17 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How about you?
8 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Since 2001,
Where are you from originally?
Russia.
Oh,
Oh,
wow.
wow.
Okay. Well,
But I'm from here.
thank you for not
Thank you.
being a spy, probably. We're going to just move on. If you have a crazy legal story and you want to talk to some lawyers anonymously, for free, call us.
Wait, we're not getting paid?
Nothing at all. I don't know how we're going to pay for it, to be honest.